Hey folks, Dale Davidson here, Dear VA Guy. Welcome to the channel. Glad you're here today. This is going to be, I'm going to apologize at that time because this is going to be kind of a lengthy video. We're talking about this new act that Congress just passed and the President just signed called the PACT, P-A-C-T Act. You think what we're doing here is a good thing? Please like and subscribe so we can update you on other videos that will be coming out. Of course, leave comments below, and as always, you are certainly welcome and are encouraged to shoot us an email with any kind of questions you may have as it pertains to you at dearvaguy@gmail.com, dearvaguy@gmail.com. So, without further delay, here we go. So, with law changes, there's always an influx of claims. The law is a good law, but if you think about it, the VA is already slow. So they're expecting 250,000 or more new claims to come in. And so, in my opinion, even though the PACT Act does some good things, it expands health care and benefits for veterans exposed to burn pits and other toxic substances. In my opinion now, the VA is probably not equipped to handle the large influx of applications that are coming in because of the new PACT Act. But we can help you with that. So all you got to do is give us a shout at dearvaguy@gmail.com. We're here to help answer your questions about the PACT Act, so let's go. So what is the PACT Act and how will it affect your VA benefits and care? So it's been labeled as the largest healthcare and benefit expansion in VA history. Okay, and the full name of the law is the Sergeant First Class Health Robinson Honoring Our Promise to Address Comprehensive Toxics Act. Wow, what a mouthful. But basically what this act does, okay, it brings about some pretty significant changes. It expands health care and extends eligibility for VA for veterans with toxic exposures, and we're going to talk about that a little bit, and veterans of the Vietnam War, the Gulf War, and post 9/11 era. It adds more than 20 new presumptive conditions for burn pits and other toxic exposures, and we're going to talk about what those presumptions are in terms of cancers and illnesses, so stay tuned. And adds more presumptive exposure locations for Agent Orange and radiation, because we had the Agent Orange locations while you were in Vietnam. Well, that expands that area, and it requires the VA to provide toxic exposure screening to every veteran who's enrolled in the VA healthcare system. Again, hopefully this PACT Act, will improve research, staff education as it relates to toxic exposures to veterans. But just know, boy, with this new act, there's going to be a lot of growing pains, and so we're going to have to really be on our P's and Q's and make sure that things are filed in a timely manner. But that's where we come in. So if you are a veteran or a survivor, you can file a claim now and apply for PACT-related benefits. Okay, don't delay, file now. Let's talk a little bit about presumptive conditions for toxic exposures. To get a VA disability rating, remember when you went through the first process, okay? Your disability must be somehow connected to your service. So if you had a combat-related injury, say you were shot, wounded in combat, clearly your wound is connected to your service, all right? But what about toxic exposures? What about radiation? What about PTSD? That's a good one. How is that? We have to be able to connect those exposures and those experiences to your service. But that's where we step in and help you. So how do you connect toxic exposure to your health condition? Well, you don't really have to. Okay, because what the VA has done through the PACT Act is they say Some conditions the VA will automatically assume, and I know assume. We all know what happens when you assume something. But let's say they presume service connection, so your exposure is connected to your service, okay, to your condition, to your cancer, to your illness. These are called presumptive conditions. A condition is presumptive when it's established by law, such as the PACT Act, or by VA regulation. So if you have a presumptive condition, you don't need to prove that your service caused the condition or caused the illness or caused the cancer. You only need to meet the service requirement for the presumption. Okay? So we're talking about Gulf War era, post 9/11 veteran eligibility. So what burn pits and other toxic exposure conditions are now presumptive? So we've added 20 burn pit and other toxic presumption exposure conditions, cancers and illnesses, to the PACT Act. So I'm going to list these cancers. Of course, you can always go onto the VA website and they've got this also. So cancers: brain cancer, gastrointestinal cancer, head cancers, kidney, lymphoma, and lymphatic, melanomas, neck cancer, pancreatic cancer, reproductive cancers, and respiratory cancers. Okay, those are cancers. Now the illnesses that are presumptively connected to your service. Okay, asthma. I have a client who was over in Vietnam but really wasn't exposed. They say he wasn't exposed to Agent Orange, and so they said his asthma is not related to his exposure, but now it is. Okay, so we have chronic bronchitis, we have COPD, chronic retinitis, sinusitis, emphysema, interstitial lung disease, pleuritis, and pulmonary fibrosis. Okay, those are just to name a few of the now presumptive illnesses. So how do you know if you have a presumptive exposure to a burn pit? Or how do you know that you have a presumptive exposure to Agent Orange? If you served at any of these locations during these time periods, and then you were exposed to burn pits or other toxins, okay, we call this having a presumption of exposure. So on or after September 11th of 2001, remember that date, okay, in any of these locations, Afghanistan, Djibouti, which is a country off the Horn of Africa, Egypt, Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, Uzbekistan, and Yemen. And for you folks, for you Air Force folks, it includes the airspace over those countries. On or after August the 2nd of 1990, these locations are covered. Bahrain, Iraq, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Somalia, and the United Arab Emirates. All of those are included, and hey, guess what? The airspace above them also. So we're covering our Air Force. So are you eligible for free health care as a post 9/11 combat veteran? Well, the quick answer is yes. VA health care eligibility is expanded based on the PACT Act to cover you if you were in during that period of time. And you are encouraged to apply no matter what your separation date, okay? So your eligibility depends upon your service history and other factors, okay? So if you meet those requirements that we just listed, or I just spoke about, the location, one of those illnesses or one of those cancers, then certainly you should apply and get your disability. Now, if you meet those requirements, you can get free health care for any condition related to your service for up to 10 years. Now, 10 years from the date of your most recent discharge or separation. Well, wait a minute. Hold your horses. Am I limited to 10 years? What the heck is that? So this is kind of an unknown in this big, massive bill, the PACT Act, okay? It sounds to me like you must have contracted this disease or cancer within 10 years of your discharge or separation. What does that mean? I don't know. I couldn't get an answer from the VA prior to putting this video together for y'all, but I will get one for you here shortly, and we will get back to you as quick as we can. You've heard this saying, ain't nothing in life free. And yes, as a veteran, you may be entitled to what they refer to as free health care, but just know that under this PACT Act, you may owe a copay for some of your care. Either one of these things must be true. You served in a theater of combat operations during a war in the Persian Gulf, Gulf 1 or 2, okay? Theater of war. That means you didn't have to be in combat, theater of combat, okay? Or you served in combat against a hostile force during a period of hostilities after November 11, 1998. Okay, either one of those have got to be true. If that's true, then let's go further. This must also be true. You were discharged or released on or after October 1st of 2013. Your enrollment is free in VA healthcare, but not guaranteed. Again, there's nothing guaranteed in life, and there's nothing for free. So what if you were released or discharged before October 1st of 2013? Are you just out in the cold? No, not necessarily. But you got to meet the requirements listed here, okay? And you can receive care and enroll during they call it a special enrollment period, which starts this year, October 1st of 2022, and ends October 1 of 2023. So you got a few months before you can enroll, but you're limited to a 12-month enrollment period. And again, how fair is that? If you were served and you qualify and all of a sudden you're cut out after because you didn't enroll after 12 months, what happens if you miss a deadline? Again, I'm not sure about the answer to that question. VA couldn't answer it for me, but I will get an answer for you. Again, we're talking about your active duty service. And one of these two things have got to be true. You served, again, in the theater of combat. You don't have to have been in combat, but the theater of combat during the Persian Gulf War, or you were served in combat during hostilities before a hostile force after November 11, 1998. Now, both of these things have got to be true for you to qualify. You were discharged or released between September 11 of 2001, the famous 9/11 date, and October 1 of 2013. And you haven't enrolled in VA healthcare before. If you were already in healthcare before, you don't qualify. But that's not saying you can't get benefits. You need to give us a shout at dearvaguy@gmail.com, dearvaguy@gmail.com. Let's sit down and talk about it because you're entitled. And enrollment is free, but your care is not necessarily free. You might have a copay, and you're not guaranteed anything. So let's talk a little bit about our men and women who were in Vietnam. Now, what about the Vietnam era veteran eligibility? There's some new Agent Orange presumptive conditions. There's two, in fact, that the VA added. High blood pressure. Well, I'm pretty sure, I know I've got high blood pressure. I'm pretty sure every veteran out there probably has some kind of high blood pressure. And then there's monoclonal gammopathy of monoclonal gammopathy of undetermined significance, MGUS for short, okay? That's basically an abnormal protein in your blood. So if you have one of those two conditions and you were in Vietnam, then you have a presumptive disability. So your service is connected automatically to your disability. So what are the new locations that the VA added? Okay, so the VA added 5 new locations to the list of presumptive locations that will go along with your presumptive disability. Okay, so any U.S. or Royal Thai military base in Thailand through certain dates, I think it was January 9, 1962 through June 30th of 1976. Laos from December 1st, 1965 through September 30, 1969. Cambodia at Minot, or Mimot, M-I-M-O-T. Krek, Kampong, Cham Province. There's Guam or American Samoa, and the waters off Guam and American Samoa. And there's some dates in there. There's the Johnston Atoll, okay, or a ship that called upon the Johnston Atoll. Okay, again, that's the presumptive locations as far as exposure to Agent Orange. So if you served in any of these locations, the VA is going to automatically assume, they're going to presume that you had exposure to Agent Orange, and that if you have one of those presumptive disabilities, then you don't have to connect your service to that disability. So then lastly, let's talk about some radiation locations. Did the VA, there's 3. Okay, there's the cleanup of the Inawak Atoll. There's a cleanup from a B-52 bomber carrying nuclear weapons off the coast of Spain. And then there was a fire on board a B-52 bomber carrying nuclear weapons near Thule Air Force Base in Greenland. Okay, so those are the 3 presumptive areas for radiation. So I know we've gone through a lot. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope you have some questions. But what I most hope is that you will contact us if you have any questions or you need some help with this PACT Act. Give us a shout at dearvaguy@gmail.com. dearvaguy@gmail.com. Of course, always like and subscribe so we can bring you some more videos like this, because we heart our veterans and we heart the spouses of our veterans also. So until next time, be blessed.
No more whiskey, I'll have a Coke. Catching bass on an old fishing boat. One more story from Grandpa Joe.